morning, everyone. I'm Eleonora, director at Mind the Bridge. Very quickly, before going into the content of the presentation, we are a Silicon Valley European innovation center that aims at promoting and supporting the development of entrepreneurship around the world. That means that in different ecosystems, we actually run different activities. In Europe, we are very focused on startup and corporate collaboration, as we realized that to develop further the European ecosystem, corporates play a key role. Therefore, we have been appointed 3 years ago from the European Commission to run the Startup Europe Partnership Program together with Nesta. Simona Bieli will give you a presentation from some fundings from the Startup Europe Partnership Program later, where we connect several corporates, here some of them with startups through matching events, experiences such as Silicon Valley trips, and we also produce several researches about how these two players can work more effectively together. And one of the main problems we have seen across Europe is that the number of merger and acquisition is not as high as in Silicon Valley. So is it really a problem for Europe not having the same number of M&A compared to Silicon Valley? So actually buying a startup from a corporate perspective is the faster way to actually embrace innovation and make sure you embrace the disruption, right? So we have seen through our matching activities that one of the best way, other than strategic partnership or strategic investment, procurement, for these two stakeholders, corporates and startups, to work together on the long term is exactly like the possibility to have exit, which is also an excellent way to have a positive impact on the entire ecosystem. So it's not that important the number of new ventures an ecosystem creates, but it's much more relevant the number of companies that grow and scale. And this has positive impacts both from the startup side, but especially from the corporate side. So we have published together with Crunchbase in October 2016 a report about transatlantic M&A for tech startups. And we have analyzed more than 15,000 M&A transactions since 2012. And there are some interesting findings I want to share with you today. So the first thing is that we have analyzed about among all that transactions, the number of transactions in the US is 4 times the number of transactions happening in Europe. And where do startups get acquired? So 92% of M&A happens within US and Europe, which means that basically our corporates buy our own startups, and only 8% of acquisition of tech startups come from other parts of the world. But not only like the number of startups is 4 times higher that gets acquired is higher in the US compared to Europe, but also the number of corporates that acquire startups is 4 times in the US compared to Europe, which is basically not surprising because we know that Silicon Valley alone drives this M&A. But another interesting factor we have seen is that not only the number of transactions is higher in the US, but also the value of the startup seems to be double in the US than in Europe. So the price paid for an American startup is basically double of the price paid by a corporate to acquire a European company. And where do European corporate startups get acquired? 44% of them get acquired from a US company. I guess it's not a surprising data. And in terms of top acquirer, we see that all the 15 top acquirers in the world are Americans, and 11 of them are actually based in Silicon Valley. If we come to Europe, we see some other interesting data. So the first corporate acquiring startup in Europe is actually at the 33rd place in the global ranking. And all the top 15 acquirers in Europe acquire as much as Google alone. But let's see how it works across Europe. So it's not a surprise, but London leads the global sign. Oh yeah, sorry. So London drives the European global sign, and if followed by Germany and France together. But London itself has double the value of these two ecosystems. And to find our relevant data, we had to put together all South Europe and all the Nordics. But still, London itself has 5 times the values when we talk about M&A of all Southern Europe. And that's also true in terms of startups. So not only the corporates that acquire startups are based in this location, but as well, if you found a company in London, you have double the possibility to get acquired than if you found a company in Paris or Berlin. This is a very interesting index we have developed, and I would like to spend a few moments here. So what we wanted to measure is the balance between the active and passive exit. So how many startups are produced by an ecosystem, and how many startups are actually acquired by corporate of that same ecosystem. So on one, we have a balance. So for example, we produce 10 startups, and corporates from the same regions acquires about 10 startups. If the value is between 0 and 1, it means that the number of corporates that acquire startups is higher than the number of startups produced by that same ecosystem. Everything above means the opposite. So for example, if we take a country like Belgium or Poland, Italy, Spain, and Denmark, it means that there are many startups, good innovative startups that comes from that ecosystem, but that get acquired from somewhere else. So again, not a surprise, but the United States acquires more startups than the one it produces, while Europe is the opposite. And here we have a breakdown of the countries. So UK and Germany are about 1.2 in our index, which means that actually they are such good startup ecosystem that there are still more startups that get started here, but eventually get acquired from an American corporate. While Austria, which is not a famous startup hub, has, however, corporates that invest fundings to acquire external innovation in the market. And again, like we have US top cities, obviously Silicon Valley is a important hub where corporates acquire several startups. Again, Google, Yahoo are the top, Facebook are the top 3 acquirers in the world. In Europe, London, Helsinki, Munich, the Nordics again comes out as important hubs for M&A. I'm very concerned about the time. We have only 10 minutes, so I just want to close, let you know that you can download all our researches, such as the South Atlantic M&A, as well as a few comparison about the ICT ecosystem and the scale-up ecosystem across Europe on our website, memebridge.com, and if you have any question, I'm here later to answer them. Thank you.